Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I greet you all in the universal greeting of peace with blessings, coming to you from South Africa today. Really, really honored to be here. Thank you so much, Sir Piyush Pandit. Thank you, IIU. Thank you, my beautiful Maha, for behind the scenes. And thank you to IIU-ISDC for allowing me to be a part of your training program and to be your trainer and to speak to you again on part 2 of the mindset of education with emotional intelligence. And today I'm hoping that you're going to partake with me to understand what is this concept of mindset, how is it affecting you to have this mindset for education together with emotional intelligence, and how exactly does this help you at all? You will see that there will be slides that will come on. I'm hoping that you will be able to see through in the next one. It says there's the nature of mindsets. And that's why I want to break this up. We're talking about mindset. We're talking about education. We're talking about emotional intelligence. So if we're talking about mindset, we're obviously talking about the fact that you now have many different natures of mindsets. And if you look at this, we're talking about a fixed mindset. We're talking about a growth mindset. We're talking about what are the benefits of these different mindsets. So I want us to understand this concept of mindset first. And then we can understand what exactly do we mean by education in itself, followed by how do we understand emotional intelligence and how do we marry or tie up all three into each other that will benefit us. When we're talking about mindset and the nature of mindset, remember that we are actually talking about habits of your mind. Nature of mindset is all about what is your mindset about? How does this actually interpret your natural qualities towards what you can and can't do? Are you actually in tune with your mindset? Do you understand you in terms of your mindset in itself? So, when we're talking about a nature of mindset, natures of mindset refers to your experiences in life. What exactly are those? Your mindset is created by experiences that you would feel, that you would experience, that you would engage in. What exactly are these? Your nature of mindset can also be about, like I said before, the habits of your mind. Your mind is inflicted by certain habitual traits that you have as a person. When you are a persona, you actually inculcate certain habits. Those habits affect your mindset, which automatically affect how you experience something, directly then leading into how you shape your world. How is your world shaped by your mindset? Do you even know whether you have a specific shape in your world created by the mindset you have? The mindset is also something that can always be developed and then redeveloped. It's something that shapes your life as it shapes your world. It helps you to actually understand you as a self, and you will hear about this a little bit more. But it also helps you to understand that you can be self-deceptive with your mindset if you don't understand it well enough. This is why we say one of the natural traits of having a mindset is that mindsets can be transcended. They can be moved up. They can be developed. And with that development of a mindset comes your growth, comes your inner awareness, comes your habitual changes, comes your experiential change that helps you benefit who you can be as a person. That is why we have to understand what we're talking about in our next slide, which is the importance of this mindset. Why do you have to have a mindset, and what is the relevance, and why is it important? Let's look at this a little bit more. We need to understand us, to understand how to interact, how to communicate, how to perceive, how to be with other people. So the importance of you understanding you, the importance of you knowing about your own mindset is for you to understand the view of the world, your view of the world. But beside that, it's also very important for you to understand how are you perceiving others in the world? How do you see your role in your life right now? And how do you see your role in this world that you are perceiving? When you have an understanding of your mindset, you will understand what your mindset impact is on how you're influencing your choices, the choices that you're making for you, the choices that you make about your decisions that you have to make, the choices that you make for those around you, the choices that you're making in this world that I'm talking about, which is yours, your perception of your world. This is all about your mindset. It influences those choices. And automatically, that mindset then influences your habits. I spoke about this before. All of these things then together actually become so important because they impact on the results of your life. They determine whether you are happy. They determine your fulfillment stages. They determine certain emotions that you will endure. These all work together in the circular effect to understand you, but also in the circular effect for you to realize that your mindset is important for you to understand you in the world that you are viewing and how to communicate with the world as it is. Now, one of the important structures of mindset is for you to understand what kind of mindset do you have? Do you have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? And if you look at this slide, you'll see there are two differentiations. One is the fixed mindset. The other is about a growth mindset. The whole idea for you is to understand which one is you. How will you determine that? In the slide, you will see under fixed mindset, there's certain categories. On these categories, you would get certain words. And I'm going to enhance them by saying them to you. In a fixed mindset, you would be able to tell yourself certain things. You'll say things to yourself like, failure is the limit of my ability. For example, I am not going to go further than this because I'm already failing. However, if you have a growth mindset, your language that you speak to yourself will be different. Instead of saying failure is your limitation, in a growth mindset, you will say failure is an opportunity to learn. So it automatically develops your mindset. You're changing from what is a fixed to become a growth. Another example of being on a fixed mindset would be where you say, I don't like to be challenged. How would you change that to a growth mindset? You can say, challenges will help me to grow. Another example of a fixed mindset, I'm either good at it or I'm not. I can't either do it or not. Your growth mindset will teach you that my efforts and my attitudes will determine my abilities. And through the growth mindset, then you see that you are able to make positive changes, that you're able to make positive comebacks, that you're able to reframe something that is becoming negative in the mindset in the fixed portion, and you change it into something that is more positive in a growth mindset. Sometimes people will be of the opinion that when they're frustrated, they kind of give up. That would be a fixed mindset. So you tell yourself, when I'm frustrated, then I just give up. But if you have a growth mindset, what will you change this to? You will rather say, I'm inspired sometimes by the success of other people. It doesn't frustrate me. It helps me to want to get better. So as a result, you want to embrace certain things. You want to try new things. Some people are very reluctant to have change. They don't like things to be uncertain. So a fixed mindset individual will be someone who would say, I shy away from things that I'm not certain about. I shy away from uncertainty, and I stick to rather what I know. But if you're somebody who has a growth mindset, then you're going to be someone who will say, I embrace this uncertainty and the things that I don't know, and I embrace that I want to try new things. When you have this fixed mindset, in the next slide, it explains to you, fixed mindset is all about you and your belief system. You and your belief system would actually have traits, you'd have talents, and you would have an intelligence that is fixed. That makes you have a fixed mindset. You stick to what you know or you're good at. You don't like to alter that. In a fixed mindset, you see in this slide that you feel that if you have to put too much of effort into something, then you feel like you're wasting time. In a fixed mindset, you don't like to be challenged. You don't want things to have to change. And you're actually not interested in getting feedback from people. Fixed mindset individuals tend to love to just be who they are. They don't like the changes. They don't like to be altered in any way whatsoever. You will see that at the bottom of this, a fixed mindset person sees feedback as criticism. Now, if you have a fixed mindset, It's exactly what this word means. You are fixated on specifics only. You are not willing to change. You are not willing to alter. You just need to be fixed in either or. That is your dimension. But if you have a growth mindset, as you see in the next slide, the growth mindset teaches us that you have to believe that you can learn and you can improve your skills. Every time I wish to, something difficult comes my way, every time there is a difficulty that I'm facing, I see this as a window of opportunity to learn. I see it as an opportunity to grow myself. I improve then my skill set. So when you have a growth mindset, you are actually believing that you can learn, you can improve your skills. And then you believe that with the effort you have, putting in extra efforts all the time, you become good at something because you want to keep growing, you want to keep developing, you want to keep being better. And when there's challenges that come your way, you embrace those challenges. You are someone with a growth mindset, therefore you will welcome feedback. You welcome any form of somebody who gives you criticism, because your criticism that you get from people helps you define and then redefine who you are. And if you have the growth mindset, then failure is only an opportunity for you to look at ways of how to improve yourself. This is about mindset. Fixed or growth? Which one are you? Now, in the title of today's discussion, we said we're talking about mindset, we're talking about education, and we're talking about emotional intelligence. I move now to education. What is education? If we have to look at the prime definition, the word educate comes from a Latin educare, which is meaning to lead out or to bring out. So to educate means then that we need to bring out of a child, of a student, that certain spirit of learning and a certain spirit of wonder, the desire to want to know more, the one that has thirst for knowledge. Why am I saying this is important? Because when you talk about education, it is about just that. It is about you finding out and bringing out things about you that allow you to become more of a leader for yourself, to bring out that certain knowledge base about you of things that you don't understand or don't know of, to bring about in our children, in our students, in our adults, in us, in everyday life. Education is key, because you have got to have the spirit of learning in order to have the spirit of growth. We spoke just now of how beneficial it is to have the growth mindset. To have the growth mindset, you have to be somebody who wants to learn. Therefore, to understand this concept of education means then we will understand the spirit of learning. We will understand that we have this inner desire to have more knowledge, the thirst for knowledge. That is what brings us to understand the true meaning of education, as you will see in our next slide. Education means learning. It means learning or studying existing knowledge and cultural heritage. You will see that through education, you learn different forms, different formalities, what happens with you, what happens around you. It's all about education. And I'm always saying, education is not just classroom-based. Education is life-based. So education is all about us all, not just a student, not just a teacher. Every one of us in life is learning. So the first point on this one is education means learning, or it can mean studying. What are you studying? We study different forms of knowledge. We study different heritage. We study everything around us. Sometimes we don't even realize that we are indirectly studying something. When you focus and you concentrate on it, you're actually trying to study it. Now, human beings have achieved a lot from the start, and it really would be unfortunate for us to try and lose these achievements simply because we lack the need to be educated. So our behavior, our perception is all things that we have learned. We have learned these behavior patterns. We have learned how to perceive certain things, either because we get instructions about them or because we observe certain things around us. So we learn by perception. We learn by observation. We learn by actually checking things around us to learn, how does this impact me, if it does at all? And then we can split education into three types. Sometimes it can be formal education, sometimes it's informal education, and sometimes it's non-formal education. Either way, it is a form of education. And education, therefore, is all about us. us learning. One of the beautiful parts about my life is I love education, and I try and teach everyone else around the world as well. Love to be educated, because if there's one thing that will grow you, that will help you develop you, and will help you even develop your mindset, which is what we're talking about today, it will help you get in tune with yourself, is this form of education. So we owe it to ourselves to be educated. When we have to move on to education in a form of emotional intelligence, the role of emotional intelligence in education is also important for us to understand. Because someone might say, why am I talking about this? What is there? What is the role of AI in education? We have to understand that, like I said just now, education is not just about classrooms. Education is about life. So when we come to a classroom, when we come to a schooling system, understand that feelings matter. Feelings matter in a school. Feelings matter at your workplace. Feelings matter at your home. And school is generally the designated prime location for promotions to happen, where we want to make sure our children keep excelling. But we too, as educators, want to also excel. And then we want to further teach this concept of emotional intelligence purely because the more in tune we are with ourselves and our emotions, the more we are likely to grow a better mindset. When we have this concept of AI in education and we understand it, we try and avoid behaviors that we know are risky because we're able to foresee the risks that might happen. And when you're able to foresee risks that can happen, then you identify these gaps and you know, this is what I can do to actually stop this from becoming detrimental for me. And this is what I can then do to be better at what I'm doing. Automatically, then it leads to us decreasing violent behaviors. And we see this in many schools, many systems around the world. All of a sudden, we have violent behaviors in our students, sometimes in outsiders that are coming into school. But we have to understand, are these people actually equipped enough to understand their own emotions, to understand what emotions they are triggering in others around them? When you have yourself intact with your emotional intelligence, you build stronger friendships, stronger relationships. And as such, you love being in school. So staying in school becomes beautiful for you. You tend to have higher graduation rates in your schools because everybody is more involved, everybody is more in touch with what the EI is about, and they are therefore more in touch with how to interact with each other. Automatically you have less disruptive behavior and fewer discipline problems. You also have an improved health situation. You have happiness in your school, whole-rounded happiness for your learners, for your teachers, including parents. And then you have life success because automatically that education from a classroom base moves into the education of life. That is the key structure of education. Now, why would we need this? The role of emotional emotional intelligence in education is key because emotional intelligence, as well as social emotional learning at school, marries into each other. Our children need to learn the concept of empathy. Our children need to learn the concepts of accountability. We need to learn and teach the concept of respect. These are all very important. So when you have to look at the role of emotional intelligence in education, we have to look at this from a social emotional standard and point of view. What exactly do I mean by the empathy point? Empathy is where I feel for others, I care for others, and then I feel cared for as well. When I talk about accountability, I'm talking about the sense of how can I follow through with this? Am I able to be accountable for my own actions? Can I hold the next person accountable for their actions? Who can be held accountable for specific reactions to certain things? Emotional intelligence allows us to define how do we find this? And then, of course, the very, very important point of respect. Respect is key. Respect is key for us as educators, for us as parents, for our students, for humanity. We have got to teach and learn and inculcate and also lead by example the ideas of respect, because respect means that we consider it of behavior, our own behavior, as well as the behavior of other people. When we show respect, we gain respect, we earn respect, respect is all that it's about. Automatically, when I have respect, I have care, I have empathy, I have responsibility. All of this then goes into the system of trust. Trust is key and crucial for us, especially in the education facility, because here is where the learner has to trust you as an educator. You trust in the learner as well, but the parents also trust in both of you, and you have to trust in the parent too. So trust is key. Trust is also important in the world. The world of humaneness involves us and people and different forms of institutions. We have got to learn to believe in each other, believe in people, believe in the institutions we are with, but also through that belief comes a respect for who we are, respect for what we stand for. And a positive school culture leads to schools' overall success on all different fronts, especially academic success, if that's what you're looking for. So EI, emotional intelligence, helps our children, our students, and our people to face tests of life and not just a life of tests. Now, let's come to emotional intelligence. We have now covered the concept of mindset, growth, and fixed. We have now covered education. Now we move on to cover emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence defined. Emotional intelligence refers to the ability to recognize, the ability to understand, the ability to manage, and also to effectively express your own emotion, as well as the capacity to effectively interact with others by understanding and managing their emotions. It plays a significant role in personal and professional relationships, decision-making processes, and overall mental well-being. That is the ultimate definition of emotional intelligence. And why did I just put that all into one context? Because emotional intelligence is all about you. It's all about you first. It's not about the next person. Everything about life for us all is about communication, interaction, dealing with other people, even via this, a channel that's on a device. It's still interacting. It's still us networking and communicating. We have got to be able to recognize this. We have to understand each other. We have to understand and manage ourselves in order to be heard properly. We have to know, how do I express this in order for someone to understand what I'm saying, perceive it in the correct way? How must other people be perceived to me when they speak? So understanding this expression of the own emotion, understanding other people's expression of their emotion, all of that helps for us to effectively then become more in tune then with how do we interact with each other? How do we understand each other? How do we then manage the emotion that we are feeling or embracing for us to react accordingly? So emotional intelligence, we said, plays a significant role in your personal life. It does. It's important for you as a person. It's important for you in your workplace with your professional life. It helps you to make proper, clear decisions as time goes on, and you will always have difficulties and impediments that come your way. But it's up to us to know through our emotional intelligence and our facilities with it, we learn different skills about how to make these decisive points come up more clearly so that it benefits us as opposed to making things difficult for us. Overall, understanding your emotional intelligence is definitely good for your mental well-being. When we're looking at responses and the characteristics of emotional intelligence, the biggest things are, firstly, empathy. So your empathetic response, you actively listening, you actively offering comfort when a friend or anybody like that shares, especially if it's about a loss, for example. It's because you understand. You understand you understand what they are going through, you understand the emotion of loss, you understand the grief, you're understanding certain things. So your empathy comes up. This is an example of why it is so good to be in tune with your emotional intelligence, because it makes you understand others and what they are going through at the same time. Another very important concept regarding characteristics of EI is your concept of self-awareness. Self-awareness is so crucial. If anything that is important about you developing you, it is about you being aware of you as a self. It is about you knowing you. It is about you knowing, how do I break things down if I'm stressed out about something? How am I aware of myself? What do I do when that happens? What am I doing when everything goes wrong around me, or I'm feeling that way, or when I feel overwhelmed? The idea is to be able to break these tasks into pieces break it all down into little bits. And then you recognize anxiety from those little things. So for example, if you're someone who's working and you have specific deadlines, if you have specific things to do by a certain time frame, you have to know how to break it down. How do I break it down to actually work with it? That makes it work for me and makes it beneficial for me and those that I have to produce to. So you being aware of yourself in certain situations is what's going to help you understand how to curb whatever negative emotion you're feeling to change that into something more positive. Another very important characteristic of emotional intelligence would be where you motivate yourself and it helps you to regulate how you will be able to react to other people. You react based on your emotion. But what is it that's triggering your emotion? What is it that is happening with you? How do you motivate? So motivation and regulation, you're setting small goals, and these small goals help you to maintain whether it's a long-term project, whether it's a short-term project, but you actually help to be able to become better at what you are doing. Now, everyone would say to me, so what if I'm not somebody in tune with myself? What if I'm not somebody who has this emotional intelligence about me? Then, if you have a low sense of emotional intelligence, I'm going to give you the verses. So basically, a low emotional intelligence versus a high one. So for example, if I have low emotional intelligence, I may be somebody who is aggressive, demanding, egotistical, maybe bossy or confrontational. And yet, if that's the same person who has a high emotional intelligence, you are likely to be somebody who's then more assertive, you become more ambitious, you become more driven, you become more strong-willed, and you become more decisive. Another kind of person with low emotional intelligence, you may just be somebody who could be easily distracted. You could be someone who's selfish in some way. Low emotional intelligence will make you a poor listener. You could become maybe impulsive. And when you become these things, obviously these are negative traits, not going to be perceived well by other people, so you'd have a result in you being more negative. But if you are somebody with a high emotional intelligence, we turn all of these things around and you become a warm person, you become more enthusiastic, you become more sociable, you become almost charming, you can become persuasive. Another kind of person with low emotional intelligence may be somebody who's resistant to change. I don't want to change anything about me. Very passive, very unresponsive, somebody who's very slow, somebody who's really stubborn. That could be somebody with a low emotional intelligence, as opposed to someone who with a high emotional intelligence can be someone very patient, someone very stable, somebody almost predictable, somebody who's a good listener and who seems to be more consistent in what they need to do and what to accomplish. Another kind of example of somebody who is with low emotional intelligence would be someone who is very critical about everything, who's very picky and fussy about everything. You tend to be hard to please. There's never really anything that makes you happy, that is pleasing to you. Somebody who's almost this perfectionist, who wants everything done in a specific way. You are somebody with a low emotional intelligence. A kind of a high emotional intelligence, somebody would be more detailed. You'd be careful. In the meantime, you'd also be respectful. You'd be meticulous. You'd be systematic, but you'd also be very neat. However, remember, being somebody with low emotional intelligence is not wrong. Being somebody with low emotional intelligence is not something bad. It just is a quality, it's a trait, it's a characteristic. And like I said, when I first started today, everything about emotional intelligence and your mindset especially is about habit. It's about change. It's about developing. It's about evolving. So everything to do with you as you and a person means that you can grow you and you become better. And as you grow, you develop your mindset to become a growth mindset. That means that you can grow your emotional intelligence as well. So you become from a low emotional intelligence someone, you become a highly emotional intelligent someone. In my next slide, I'm talking about something that's very important regarding emotional intelligence. I'm talking about the different variables, and I'm going to give you a little bit of the features and definitions very quickly. Here we're talking about what exactly is a variable. When I talk about emotional intelligence, there are different aspects to emotional intelligence, and we have to see each one of us in that. I did discuss these in part one. This is part two today. Part one discussed these a little bit more in detail. So if you'd like, you're welcome to go back to that video. But for now, I'll give you a brief. If you're talking about the variable of self-awareness, when it comes to emotional intelligence, if you are self-aware, you have this ability within you to actually recognize and understand yourself. You have the ability to recognize and understand your moods, your own emotions, and your own drives. And how exactly do these affect other people? What is the effect you have on others? What does that mean? It means you have self-confidence. It means you are realistic. You are realistic in your own assessment of you as a self. You actually have a sense of humor sometimes, because even though something may be negative about you, you're able to learn by being aware of yourself. How can I change that? Remember, being aware of yourself is not selfish. Being aware of you as a self actually helps you understand others too in the same process. So when you are able to understand yourself and your moods and your emotions, you automatically able to understand the moods and emotions of others around you. So you're then able to control, how do I react to them and what would be their reaction to me. The second variable we talk about is self-regulation. Here we're talking about your ability to control or redirect anything that is impulsive, disruptive, or any mood. So something that is not really kosher with you. You can actually hold onto a judgment, and then you think before acting means I'm regulating myself. I have this emotion. Something has triggered an emotion in me that is negative. Because I'm aware, like we talked about self-awareness, I'm aware of this happening with me. I am therefore able to regulate my own emotion and how I would react to what I'm feeling. What happens when you're able to be self-regulated? You're able to have the sense of trustworthiness. You have integrity and you have comfort. And you don't have to be ambiguous. You're actually somebody who's very open to change. That means that you are very in tune with you. You know are and what you can do. How can you regulate yourself? That is important. Another variable that is very key for us is to know about motivation. You are at school, you are a teacher, you are at work, you are at home, wherever you may be. You have got to find what is your passion. What is it that motivates you? Remember, everything about what we're talking about is about you as a person. Education for life. Passion to work, not just for money or for status. Passion to work to build you, work at you. How can I build myself to be more energetic? How can I be persistent in actually pursuing the goals I'm setting out to accomplish? That requires you to be motivated. Self-motivation here is key. And if you go back to the other two, if I'm aware of me as a self, if I learn how to regulate my emotions effectively, I will be able to know how to motivate myself so that I can become somebody that's achievement driven. I can have optimism even when I'm facing something like failure. I can have organizational commitment. So I know how to plan myself to learn to motivate me to become a better person. I did mention the next variable before, empathy, very key, especially in today's world where so many difficulties are arising. We're seeing so much of pain around us all. Why do you feel that pain every time you see something bad happen to someone else? Because you have this concept of empathy. You have the emotion that's running high about how I feel for others. So empathy is about your ability to understand that emotional profile that other people are setting out on you. You're seeing something in other people that you are feeling for. So it's developing your skill and how do I treat people? How do I actually approach them when I see them in this form? And it's always according to their emotional reaction. So they are experiencing something and you are actually reacting to their experience. When you have empathy, you have an expertise then within yourself in how to build and retain a specific talent or skill. How do I help people? How do I help myself when helping people? And I personally believe the more we help in humanity, the more we help ourselves. Sometimes when you're feeling your most down, the most down that you would feel, actually pick yourself up by helping somebody else. And when you see them smile, that automatically picks you up. Your empathetic feeling and you being emotionally intelligent about your empathy sense and your variables help you really to learn how to adjust you in any form of anything that comes your way. The last variable I want to discuss today here is about your social skills. Everything to do with anything I'm talking about today and anything to do with you on a daily basis for life is about you having social skills. It's about interacting with people, networking, speaking, whether it is you as a mom talking to your child at home, whether it is you talking to people that you work for or people that work for you, whether it's you talking to your children in a classroom or you lecturing people in a university hall, whether it's just you greeting somebody mundane on the street, whether you walk into a store and you're trying to buy something, all of it is about social skills and interaction. So you need to be able to be emotionally intelligent so that you have proficiency in actually managing whatever relationships you have to deal with. And that helps you to build your network. That helps you to then have this ability to find a kind of a common ground, and you build a rapport with people to build yourself a good network. Automatically, all of these things then lead to you having an effective leading change within yourself. You know, how do I adapt myself to everybody else that's new that I'm seeing? How do I adapt myself when I'm getting to meet other people? You know you. When we sing our family, we one person. When we at work, we may be somebody else. You don't know, but you know you best. So you know how to define your social skills and redefine them according to who you're meeting. Remember, some of it means that you might have to be persuasive. You might have to engage yourself to learn more and educate yourself about your leadership skills. And you need to build your expertise in how do I lead? How do I lead myself? How do I lead my team? And one of the biggest things I always teach when it comes to leadership, leadership is first about you as a leader. What are your skills? How are you learning? And educating yourself consistently is about you building yourself. And emotional intelligence is one of the key ways for us to learn about just that. There are components regarding emotional intelligence, and I spoke about these in the variables now. But when we have to talk about self-awareness, self-reputation, and motivation, those fall under the competency of your personal change. That is your personality. It is regarding a person. But when we talk about empathy, when we're talking about social skills, those are things that are more relational based. So it is your interaction with other people. Your personal competence is about you, knowledge of yourself, you having an accurate assessment of you as a self, you being self-confident, you being literally emotionally aware of you, all fall under the category of self-awareness. The other thing about you as a personal component and why this is important for you, remember, if you have self-control on your emotion, if you have a sense of integrity, you have innovation, and you know how to adapt yourself to different categories, you are building your self-reputation and you're regulating yourself through these things. And when you know how to achieve certain things by your commitment, your optimism, your initiatives, and you have this learning orientation that I want to keep learning, I want to build myself even more. All of these are about you as a self. This becomes part of the personal competency of the emotional intelligence range. However, like I was saying just now, everything about anything is about how do we actually interact with each other and people around us. Therefore, the skill about how we relate to other people and the relational competence of emotional intelligence is key here. So empathy and social skills is just about that. We need to understand other people. We have to learn about service orientation. What do we have to do to give service unto others for us to be served as well? We have to appreciate diversity. We have to teach and appreciate inclusivity, especially in our classrooms nowadays, so that we enhance that concept of respect and mutual understanding. When it comes to social skills, very important for us to know how to communicate with each other with respect first. Developing others, developing ourselves through developing others is also key. We have to learn to collaborate, not to just be in competition with everybody around us. We have to cooperate with people. That again is a result of you being respectful, not just to yourself, but to other people. Learn managing conflict. Learn about conflict and resolution. Learn about how to develop these different skills so that there's no difficulties that can come up where you don't know how to face these. Build your influence structure and build bonds with people so that you have inspirational leadership, not just for you, but for those around you too. We spoke just now about the fixed mindset. We spoke just now about the growth mindset. I spoke to you also about how to actually understand education. What is the base of education for you and for those around you? What exactly does it do? What does it mean? The actual meaning of it. And now I've just given you a rundown about emotional intelligence per se. Now, I want to ask you on this slide, ask yourself, are you now in the fixed mindset range or are you in the growth mindset range? If you are in the fixed mindset range, are you someone who avoids challenges? Are you someone who's giving up easily all the time? Do you see any form of effort and hard work as something that's just pointless because you're not going to get anything back? Do you ignore negative feedback? So if somebody tells you something bad about you, are you someone who's actually just, I don't care what they say? Are you somebody who feels threatened by success that other people have, where you don't want them to keep growing and you want it to just be about you? Are you the fixed mindset someone? Because if you are, there is still hope. If you wish to change that to the growth mindset, then you're going to have to become someone and learn skills to become this. You'll need to embrace the challenges, not avoid them. We have to learn that setbacks are there for us to grow. Every difficulty that we face is an opportunity for us to become better, to find a strength within the weakness that we are enduring. So, growth mindset teaches us to persist in the face of any setback that we are facing. A growth mindset will help you not see efforts as pointless, but you would rather see the efforts as a path to you becoming a master in that field that you are trying to get to. So effort is important. Hard work is important. Doesn't come now. It will come at some point, but you have to persist in your effort to become the master of what you want to do. You have to learn negative feedback is always going to be there. How you perceive it, what we spoke about just now, your perception is your emotion. When you understand the emotion you get from your perception, you will understand how to react to it. So remember, negative feedback is good because criticism allows you to learn. It doesn't just mean that something is wrong about what you've done. It's something that you learn about you, and it makes you want to upskill yourself so that is not repeated. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. So when you feel threatened by success of others, no, you're going to develop a growth mindset. You're going to shift your mindset so that every time you see success of other people, you feel their blessing. You give them a blessing and you feel lessons and inspiration in their success because it's their success. It's their lane. You are in yours. You need to start learning how to change your fixed mindset into a growth one. It's all about your mindset shift. So I'm going to pause there now, and I'm going to say thank you again to everyone for listening to me. And I'm hoping that all of you have learned something today that's going to definitely affect you and those around you in a positive way. The most important thing for me is that every one of us understands that we do have the degree of mindset that can shift everything that is negative that is happening within us, for us, or about us, around us. Everything that's negative can be changed into something more positive. How we perceive it, how we understand the emotional buildup that it's giving us, that is how we learn to educate ourselves to deal with our reactions. So if you are in a fixed mindset post that is not working for you, change it, shift it, have a mindset shift into something more positive. Get more aware of you as a self to learn how do you regulate you as a self when things are going wrong for you. Become more empathetic, become more humane, become more you. Because it's so important for us to develop who we are. And it's only through education that we are able to do that. Love to be educated because you are worthy of being loved and you need to love you to do that. I thank you, IIU, again. Thank you, Maha, for being there behind the scenes for me. Lovely to work with you again. And I greet everyone in universal greeting of peace with blessings, with prayer for peace and unity for us all across the world who's having difficulty now. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Doctor. And see you later and blessed efforts. Goodbye, everyone.